Okay, first let's orientate ourselves. We're on the TCC-SCV trecvet website, and we're on this. This page is the TCC-SCV tools, and here we have what is the proposal to solve the problem that SCV skippers have of mobility within the European Union. And the reason for that problem is a lack of recognition of their qualifications in different countries. So this diagram is to demonstrate how TCC-SCV wishes to solve that problem. So briefly, here we have a central core, which is actually divided into three parts, but a central core that actually represents the core competence that's required for any skipper. And then around it, these spokes represent individual national specific modules that a skipper who has this core would have to add on to be able to sail or work in one of these specific countries. Now, around this core, there are the legal obligations to be learnt, and those are very specific to the countries. So those will basically be mainly different for every country that you have to sail in. But the ones that go out from there, which I'll just bring that up in a bit in size, the ones that go out from there, which is advanced technical awareness, in fact, if you open those up, they all have the same curriculum in them. So if a skipper passes in one of those modules, then he will be qualified for any of the countries that hold that module or require that module. So let's go into a bit more detail on the central core. The central core has three parts. An internal circle, which is the absolute minimum requirement that any skipper needs. Whichever country basically he comes from, anywhere in Europe or the world, you need that qualification to be able to sail safely. Outside of that, if a skipper requires to work on a sailboat, then obviously there are different techniques and knowledge to be learnt to be able to do that. So if he has the central core, then he can build that up to sailing competence by taking this extra external core. And then the other core is related to tidal issues. Now, some skippers will not need tidal issues. For example, any skipper sailing in the Mediterranean will not need a tidal issue because, or tidal module, because it's a non-tidal ocean or sea. But if he's sailing somewhere in the North Sea or the Channel or elsewhere where there are tidal considerations, then he must have that. So those are the three basic cores that don't have to be learned. The central core has to be learned, and then the others are built up depending on what the skipper wants to do and where he wants to do it. Now, if we go to the central core, click on that, you will see as we go up, that's opened up some information. And that information represents a list of all the competencies, units of learning, the learning outputs, and the competence that are included in that competence, that core curriculum. So here is the whole list. I won't go through all of it, but here you can see these are links. So if you click on one of these links, then that will open up what is fundamental elements included in the competence. And the competence here demonstrates the use of instruments that aid safe navigation. And these are the elements that are required to build up that competence. So if I go back, then the same applies if you go to any of these outer rings here. you click on it and you get the competence list. So you can go into further detail and see what's involved. This one describes the various parts for sail and motorboats, and there's a list of all the things a skipper needs to know. Now, if we go on from the central competence and we go to these local rules and laws, you'll see if we go for Spain, in fact, understands how to source local rules and laws and apply them. So basically there, when you come to, if a skipper comes to learn that particular competence in Spain, then there would obviously be in the Spanish curriculum a whole list of laws and regulations that are specific for Spain that the skipper would have to learn, and likewise for the Czech Republic, and any of them. They're all specific to that country. Now, if we go to the next one out, which is Competence Advanced Weather Modules, you can see there are three sets of competencies. That understands characteristics and effects of weather factors and terms to an advanced level, and so forth. But if you go to another country and click on that, you'll actually see that those competences are the same. So, as previously stated, if a skipper has that module, then he's competent to add that to his core curriculum and work in any of those countries that require it. And that goes for all the way up. So again, if you click on that, then you get the list of elements. Now, if you now go to, let's say, this one. Again, you get your core of competencies. So that basically explains what's involved or what's underneath of this this graphic. Now, if you wish to learn more about the philosophy and the terminology used in this graphic, then you really need to go to Downloads here and download this handbook, which is the SAF, which tells you all about the terminologies and the philosophy and the methodologies involved in obtaining that curriculum. Okay, so I think that should do for now. Okay, thanks for listening.